Thank you. Also in a warm regard also from my side, even though I'm coming from the country where it's everything but warm at this very moment, because we have a proper winter. We're not an observatory, so I was actually asked to give you a bit of insight. What are we doing in practice that we realized that we are lacking when we went through the evaluation through the all the sustainable indexes. Let me walk you through a little bit from the through my city, Ljubljana, which is the capital of Slovenia, which is beautiful in the summertime, as you can see from here behind me, with the mountains around, so close to the city center, and also magical in the wintertime. Which means, since we are getting more and more known, that the tourism is booming. Arrivals are going up. We are having the visitors, obviously, not only from Europe, but from all over the continents. And the overnight stays are going up as well. I just chose this indicator to show how much is tourism booming in Ljubljana, even though we're talking about the country which has 2 million people, the country, not the city, and the city which has, the capital city, which has 280,000 inhabitants, with the surrounding 370,000. We have only one 5-star hotel, which we're very happy that we have, proud of. 13 4-star hotels, and of course some 3-star and 2-star as well. So the capacities are now way below what the demand is. As you can see, that in the 10 years basically doubled the arrivals and overnight stays in Ljubljana. But even though we are an emerging destination, getting more and more known, we also have time to learn from other destinations and work with locals. So we're closely monitoring what is going on in parallel, locals versus tourism. And we're really happy to say that, or confident to say that the locals in Ljubljana are very, very coping with this emerging destination so far. But of course, it's our responsibility to work on that further and not to be happy with the results that we actually have in the moment, to be aware of the fact that tourism can also be a burden for the environment and for the locals. So we are obviously already for a decade or more very keen on working on sustainable and responsible tourism according to various factors. And how did we start to push this was 4 or 5 years ago, when we evaluated ourselves through ETIS and GSTC criteria. And obviously it helped us to see also our weaknesses, not only our strengths. Since then, we are really, really pushing the sustainable policies. We have action plans that we are going through every year, and we are getting the results, which I would be happy to share with you. We have few policies. So, for example, if I go to Action 1, obviously we are all working on decentralization. Ljubljana is a very compact city. You can do everything on foot. You don't have to hire a car if you want to see the sights. So it was quite a challenge to get the tourists out of the city center or out to the suburbs of Ljubljana, or even to the region. So that's why we are working really closely with the tourism organizations or even individuals who are working with tourism. We are teaching, we as a tourist board are making workshops for them to teach them how to maintain the quality of product, what does it mean to tourists, but also to local, how to combine all of them in these products. And at the end, we are offering and selling the ITPs, the products, for the whole day, which are not only getting people out of the city center, but we are combining our heritage with the nature, meaning that they have programs in the region with the gastronomy, with the local legends impersonated, meaning they wear mascots as Either Slovenian used to be 100 and more years ago, or according to the legends. So tourists, but also locals, have fun, because through this program, since we are pushing it, even locals started to explore more and more the region around Ljubljana, since we can obviously monitor also through the social media. The action number 2, oh, that's, the colors doesn't do justice, but it's a sustainable park and ride system, sustainable mobility. It's written down there. If the picture would be shown properly, you would see the combination of parked cars and the buses in the back, and this is all on the suburbs or around the center of Ljubljana, because the goal is that people don't go by cars into the city center. So they can park in different areas, these park and ride areas, for 1.2 euro for the whole day. They get bus ticket, the return bus ticket, and they massively do that. More and more locals. We Slovenians are very much, to be honest, spoiled, meaning that we want to drive by the door. And this very easy, manageable system, which is really cheap, is helping to improve this sustainable mobility. Also, the bike share system. We have 230 kilometers of the bike paths, 51 stations, 510 bikes, which is quite a lot for the city of our sizes, but then we come to numbers. Remember, we're talking about a few 100,000 people. In the warm months, there are more than 100,000 shares per month. At the good days, there are 5,000 shares per day. And since it was introduced in 2011, there were more than 4.2 million purchases of this system by locals, but also for visitors. Again, why? Because it's for free when you use it, but the only amount that you have to pay is €3 when you apply via internet. So they charge your credit card. And this is everything that you have to pay if you use it for an hour. If you use it for more than an hour, then you pay a little bit, but in Ljubljana everything is reachable by bike in an hour. You know, obviously someone needs to pay for this kind of system, so that's why we are all so keen on developing this public-private partnership, which is in this case working very well. The system or the vehicles that are really popular by locals and the tourists in Ljubljana are the electrical vehicles called Cavalier, the gentle helpers, which are transporting people for free in the city center. Why is this? Why do we have this? Because 10 years ago, a bit more than a decade ago, the mayor decided to completely close the city center for traffic. And since then, the area that is completely closed in the city center expanded for 620%, which means a lot of, a big area where you have to walk, where you don't have a public transport, or you can either walk or bike, and that's it. No other vehicles are allowed to go in except for these electrical fellows, which we love to order. You can either just wave it and he will stop. There are 4 of them going around, or you can call the driver and he will come and pick you up wherever you want to in the walking area within the city center. That's a courtesy of the municipality and the tourist board, and we are really happy that the locals and the tourists took it so good. This mobility or sustainable mobility, we are next year expanding also with the touristical train. Again, electrical, of course. We ordered it especially for Ljubljana, so it will come. It will start driving as a hop-on, hop-off service in 2018. But the main reason why we decided for it was, again, to stimulate people to go out of the city center, because it's going to go everywhere but in the city center around. Action number 3, green supply chains. We really, really believe in green supply chains. This is the initiative that the Tourist Board, which is not very common, started in 2015. And we're encouraging local restaurants, hotels, bars to purchase the food from the local farms. And for example, this picture shows a lady who sells the local vegetable to one of the most renowned chefs worldwide. He owns a restaurant which was named one of the top 50 restaurants at San Pellegrino's choice. His name is Janez Bratuš, and this is not staged. I just ran into him yesterday in the morning when I went from work, and he was there again shopping. And through this very easy, manageable system of exchanging the local food from the farms to the hotels, restaurants, and bars, we in only 2 years exchanged 17 tons of local food. Action number 4 is, of course, the satisfaction of locals. I touched this issue already earlier. Not only that we are regularly asking locals about the tourism and how does it affect it, but the results are very in favor of tourism. Last year, 92%. This year, 91% of the locals were claiming that they do understand the tourism to be the development goal, and also good for them that the destination not only does get its identity, but it's also for the development in general and for the goods of locals. But how do we do this? It's because we are constantly communicating with locals. Mayor and myself, we hold at least once, but primarily 2 times per year, the workshops with locals where we go through the development of the tourism, we talk to them, we touch the issues that they are sensitive with or of. We try to not only listen to them, give them the answers, but also give the solutions if the problems occur. So in short, really, together municipality and board, we really are keen on developing the safe, green, clean, inclusive city, not only tourism, because Ljubljana is really, really green city. This is basically the city center, because you can see also at the back the Ljubljana Castle, which is the heart of the city center, and it's very nearby. This is like 5 minutes or 10 minutes walk from the very core of the city center. Last year we were the European Green Capital of the year 2016. Ljubljana is also the only, so far, capital which is directed towards zero waste strategy or zero waste program. We do that through prevention, reduction, recycling, reuse. And in the less than 10 years, the quantity of separately collected waste has increased from 16 to 145 kilograms per resident, and today more than 60% of waste collected is separated. Here we don't separate locals from tourists, but the tourism organizations, meaning hotels and other organizations, are here in these numbers as well. In 2005, we built the very modern waste management center at the outskirts of Ljubljana, and the result is that nowadays, so it's only 2 years old, and nowadays only 5% of residual waste is disposed. And as much as 95% of seemingly useless mixed waste can be used as recyclable materials or fuel. So we really, really are serious about this zero waste strategy. So how did Ljubljana look like even 10 years ago. The cars and streets, the streets and the streets and were full of cars, whereas today is full of people and venues for the different events. The major squares were full of cars. Used to look like that. We don't even want to remember. We don't really do remember how did it look like back then, because today it looks like this. This looks pretty empty, but it's actually very full of events most of the time. Now, for example, is just 2,000 square meters big ice ring on it. Ljubljana River, which goes right through the city center, was pretty much detached from the city and was a point where it was, littered most of the time. And since we renewed the embankments of Ljubljana River, it really looks like, not looks, but it's also the place where we meet, where we go walk, where it's this expanded or vast walking area, really a pleasure to walk at. Obviously, we are getting recognitions for our actions. We're very proud, quite a few of them. I mentioned European Green Capital because the European Commission got us the award because we made the most changes in the least amount of time. We were also Tourism for Tomorrow winner from WTTC. We're the only one 3 times named the most sustainable global top 100 destination. Ljubljana is the only one in the world named that. And we just got the WTM Responsible Tourism Award. But what I would like to touch here is the Slovenia Green Destination platform, which is pretty close to observatories that we are talking here about. So we are also, through this platform, monitoring us, how are we doing with the results in accordance to all the factors that need to be covered. Through ETIS, when we evaluated ourselves, we actually realized something that we weren't even aware of before. We didn't have a single accommodation with a sustainable certificate. Today, that was 3 years ago. Today, no, 4 years ago. Today, not only we have hotels with Travel Life certificate, and I'm talking about plural, not a single. We also have the only hostel in the world with a sustainable certificate. It's called Celica, if you want to check it. So, last but not least, you are all invited to be a responsible tourist in Ljubljana. We'll be more than happy to host you. Thank you.